Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios, it's time for Women in Motion. Brought to you by WBEC West. Join forces, succeed together. Now, here's your host.
Lee Kantor here, another episode of Women in Motion, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, Webeck West. Without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. Today on Women in Motion, we have Cary Williams with Tussle. Welcome.
Well, hello. Nice to get on here with you and chat.
Well, I am so excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us about Tussle.
Yes. Well, Tussle is a fight fitness gear company, and we specialize in women's gear. So we're talking about athletes and non-athletes. So, we've got gals that do boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, but they also do these activities for fitness. And so we specialize in making their gear, well, that it fits. We're not doing a shrink it and pink it with it. We are actually form-fitting gear to fit them, and it looks amazing as well.
So what's your backstory? How'd you get involved in this line of work?
Yes. So about 26 years ago, I guess, I opened my first boxing and fitness gym. So this was way before boxing and fitness kind of went together in the same sentence. And you would either go to a boxing gym to learn how to be a fighter, or you would do Tai Bo at home. So I opened it was kind of a pioneer back then in offering boxing for the everyday person that wanted to learn the skill set but didn't want to get punched in the face. And I ended up growing that gym to 3 locations. I did not have any boxing experience before I dove into that. I didn't have any business experience. I don't have a business degree. So, it's kind of ended up becoming a fighter and an Olympic level coach throughout the years. So it's kind of a little bit of a backward story, I would say, because usually you're an athlete, a coach, and then you open a gym. But that's, that's kind of the beginnings of everything.
So what attracted you to boxing and fighting?
Well, I was raised by my father, and I remember watching boxing with him being a youngster. But what had happened was when I graduated from college with my environmental science degree, I had a friend who was a boxer at the time. And I remember him talking about how people would come into the boxing gym and they'd want to learn how to box, but they didn't want to be fighters. And they never, the trainers would say, well, we're not going to work with you because you don't want to fight. And I just kind of thought, well, maybe that's an opportunity to jump on. And I started thinking about what could I do? How could I open a business that is something no one's done before? And that's kind of what struck me was this, it was a gap in the market, really, something that hadn't been done, and there was a need for it. So I decided to hire him as my head trainer, and I put together a business plan. Back then, we didn't have Google, so I bought a Business Plan for Dummies book, and I wrote up a business plan, and I set up an appointment with a banker at Bank of America. I did a lot of research on SBA and all of that. And I was able to land a $40,000 SBA loan, which he called a feel-good loan because I didn't have any collateral or experience. And then I kind of just took off running with that.
Now, were you initially targeting men, or was it men and women? Like, how did kind of the concept evolve?
Initially, because there weren't really any women that were doing boxing or really wanting to do any boxing, I really focused on everybody. So, the thing is, you kind of go into that guerrilla marketing state where, we didn't have, like I said, Google, so we didn't have social media, obviously. The field was very different as far as how you marketed. So I would print up flyers. I'd go to local events, boxing events, and pass out flyers. And I started to actually get some press. So I started to learn very quickly that I was a bit of an anomaly in that kind of arena. So I wrote some press releases, sent out to the local press, and was able to get some great articles on, this woman opening a boxing gym in Sacramento, California. And that really did the trick, getting that press really catapulted the business. So yeah, these are the things you do. It's kind of boots on the ground.
So the boots on the ground, you're just looking for people to come in and join, right? Like you didn't care man, woman. We were just trying to get members at that point.
Just getting members. Back then I didn't really think about, oh, we're going to just cater to men or just cater to women. It wasn't even a thought in my head. It was just getting people in that wanted to learn, but wanted to do it more for a workout. But we did start, because I am a woman, obviously, we did start to see more women coming in because, if they see an article of this woman opening a boxing gym, immediately it's, female friendly and, I can come in, I can learn self-defense. I can feel comfortable. I can feel safe, all of these things. So, we definitely started seeing a lot more women come in. And I'd say, in the beginning, it may have been about 20% women, which back then for a boxing gym was pretty high.
Yeah, I would imagine. And then would it be that the woman is coming, like you mentioned, I'm going to work out, but I'll also learn self-defense. How important was self-defense in kind of the marketing and the positioning of the service?
Initially, I think that a lot of women did come in for that. But once they figured out that, wow, this is a great workout, my body's changing, then they saw more benefits to it. And then what ended up happening, like over the years, maybe the first few years, we started to be a bit more fitness focused. And then people were coming in for the fitness aspect of it. We had, I actually created the first, what we call boxing camps. Everybody says boot camp. There's a camp kind of put onto everything. But back then there really weren't things like that. And so I created these 4-week boxing camps. And so, we did the weights and measurements. We did nutritional guides. There was a set time they came in for 4 weeks. And so they could really see the changes and the progress. So they would then start coming in more for the fitness side of it. And then they would end up staying, not even because of the fitness part of it, but because they were learning this amazing sport, appreciating the sport, and it was challenging. And they started to kind of fall in love with that and the community that, we were building throughout the gyms.
And this is a great example for our listeners that are entrepreneurs. At first, you're just trying to see what works, right? Like everything's kind of an experiment and you're doing different things and you're trying different things. And then were you finding yourself, okay, this is working, let's do more of this. This is not working, let's not do that. Like, is that how it kind of over the years kind of fleshed out to what it is?
Yeah, I believe those, and I don't own any gyms anymore, which, we'll get to Tussle because Tussle is a gear company. But over the years of those gyms, you definitely, I had a lot of people going, oh, you should add in kickboxing, you should add in yoga, you should add in, all sorts of things. But I stayed really true to, what it was and what I started as, which, there's like two sides of that coin, right? There's one part where you kind of stay the course. But then the other side, when you're doing your marketing and figuring out what customers are coming in and what they're wanting, then you have to be pliable. So, you kind of have to shut the noise out of people telling you what you should be doing and listen to what's actually happening in your space.
So then you kind of rode that wave for quite some time. You got to the point where you were franchising the concept?
Yes, I started franchising the concept in 2007, and I ended up getting, lots of loans because in California, it's extremely expensive to franchise. And I didn't have any partners or anything. So took out a bunch of loans, started franchising. I sold my first franchise. I had a couple of area development agreements that were in line to be signed. And by 2008, all of that changed.
Yeah, 2008, for those who weren't paying attention, it was a little bit of a financial crisis.
Yeah, so when the housing market crashed, it crashed my company. when you have agreements that are ready to be signed and you have folks that are ready to open up, 20 gyms in Spain or whatever, and then the bank pulls back financing for that individual, then that goes away for you. Our company was impacted a lot by the housing market crash. So what ended up happening was I had to close the franchise company. I ended up keeping 3 of my gyms open and went through some other things personally. And within a couple years, I decided to move to Santa Monica, California from Sacramento. And I let my managers at the time run the gyms. And then I just opened a small studio in Santa Monica. It was more of a one-woman show at that point.
And then now, with all this experience in the space, you decided to kind of go into the clothing and apparel line?
Well, I decided to go into the gear line. Yeah.
So that's
we do have apparel though too. But what happened was, so I'll try to skip forward. My story is a little long, but what happened was when I had my studio in Santa Monica, I started to work with a lot of trainers. And so I had a certification program. So I started certifying trainers to teach boxing. It's kind of to where you get to a point where you're gaining such a skill set in one thing and you want to pass it down to somebody else to also do that. So I started training trainers. I started traveling around the country to universities and gyms and kind of, training up all of these amazing fitness people to be able to teach boxing because boxing started to become very popular in the fitness space and it's continuing to grow. So I started doing that, and I was at a trade show last year, which is the IDEA World Convention. If you're in the fitness space, you're familiar with it. And I had these gloves that I had created for the programming that I was, certifying trainers for, which was a boxing and weightlifting program. And I had created these special gloves you could box with and you could lift weights with. And I had those out in my booth, not really paying any attention to, wasn't my focus of selling the product. It was more of the service. And I had a buyer from TJ Maxx approach me and asked if they could put in an order for my gloves.
It's that simple, folks, right?
Oh boy, if only, right?
It just took 25 years to be an overnight success.
And still working on it. So, that had happened and it really kind of hit me. I thought, well, maybe I should change direction and focus on product. I have these amazing gloves that are the only glove like it in the market. And I just had a buyer of a huge retail company come up and want to put an order in for them. So maybe that's where my focus should go. So I sat on that for a few months and I really thought out if I'm going to do product, what is my focus? Where should it be at? What population do I want to serve? And for me, it's girls and women. And that's for a lot of reasons. I mean, I'm a woman, but also because in our space, there aren't any companies that are really specifically making gear that fits us. And I thought, well, that's where I'm going. I'm going to start a fight gear company, and it's going to be really for girls and women. And I came up with Tussle, created the logo. I started designing the website and it just kind of blossomed into this whole new thing. And I launched it in January 2024.
And here we are. We're 6-7 months in. What's it? Are you getting traction? Are you getting more and more orders? Is the marketplace kind of embracing this?
Yes, all three. We're definitely getting more orders in. The market's definitely embracing the gals who are in this space are really excited about it. We don't just do boxing gear, so we do Muay Thai gear, MMA gear, pretty much all the fight gear you could think of, specifically for girls and women. And our hybrid glove, which is my patent pending glove, is kind of the superstar of, our line. I had a meeting with Dick's Sporting Goods in March, which first of all was, quite a feat to get that meeting. And we're going to do a test in 25 of their stores.
Wow. That is an amazing success story. And it shows you a lot of lessons in that. And then you touched upon one of them is when you start kind of going deep in one niche, you become kind of a subject matter expert and understand some of the nuances that maybe somebody who has more of a generalist understanding of things doesn't appreciate. But because you went deep, you saw there was a space for what you have to offer.
Yeah, I truly believe that. I think if you're, looking at what maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe you are already, and really kind of figuring out in your space, where is there a gap? We have to fill the gaps. We have to find the problem and we have to create a solution. And, that's really, what Tussle is. So for any entrepreneur out there, that's how you start it, right? What's the problem? Where's the solution? And how do I create that solution? And then actually let people know about what I'm offering. That's always the big hurdle.
Yeah, there's lots of hurdles. There's not just one hurdle. It seems at every turn there's another hurdle.
Absolutely.
That's why being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart.
No, no, you have to be a risk taker, big time risk taker, right? You have to be diligent. You have to have a mind of steel, meaning you're going to hear a lot of no's and you're going to get a lot of non-responding emails, calls. A lot of that's going to happen. And, honestly, it does get discouraging. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, I have a strong mind, therefore it's not hard, or therefore I'm not discouraged, because that does happen. I think it happens to every entrepreneur. But the one thing that I have learned over all these years as an entrepreneur is that even when things seem like they're not moving forward, if you're diligent and you're working every day toward your goal, they are moving forward. You're just not seeing it yet.
Exactly. And that's one of those things where, and I'm sure in the ring, it's the same thing, right? You got to do the work every day, and then you're betting it's going to pay off over time, when it matters. And then you might not see the benefit that minute, but, when the bell rings and you can still stand up and go, that's where that is paying off.
Mm-hmm, exactly. All the hard work, all the early mornings, the bumps and the bruises, all those things. Yeah. I mean, when you're in the thick of it in training for boxing or any, combat sport, you're just day in and day out doing the same thing. You're not seeing that end result yet. And then when you step in there for competition, then it all kind of comes together.
Now, why was it important for you to become part of the Webeck West community? Because it sounds like a lot of your work has been kind of as the solo founder of things.
Yeah. Well, I felt like Webeck West really gave me a lot of different opportunities and continues to do that. When they send out emails, their emails are chock full of great information, great opportunities. I never want to miss one of their emails because, there's always something in there. And, becoming a certified woman-owned business, that was, it's a tough thing to go through as far as, there's lots of different hoops to jump through, lots of, paperwork and those things. And they were just really, really helpful and made that process a lot easier for me. So yeah, I'm really glad to be a part of them.
So what's next for Tussle? You mentioned some deals with, large stores and retail establishments. What else is on the roadmap as you move forward?
Yes, we're building our athlete team. So we have a couple of gals who are affiliates with Tussle that are at the Olympics right now. So we're, really building our community just so that we can really spread the word and so that all girls and women who are in this space, they know that we're here and we're there for them. And that's really important to us. I mean, it's, really why I started the brand and the company. Not only just to give them what they need, but also support them in all of their journeys. So, we're continuing to do that. We'll continue with Dick's. We're testing in 25 stores, so I know it's going to do extremely well. So we'll be getting into all their stores at some point, and that'll be a big endeavor. Just continuing to push forward.
So if somebody wants to check out the gear, what's the website? What's the best way to connect with you all?
Yes, it's tusslegear.com. And our Instagram is also Tussle Gear.
And that's TUSSLEGEAR.com?
Yes, correct.
Well, Cary, congratulations on all the success and the momentum. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on to share.
All right, this is Lee Kantor. We'll see you all next time on Women in Motion.